dear Georgiana, I'm so proud of you.
At least there is still some measure of justice in the world.
Welcome back to the Sanditon. We are in the third part review of episode 3 of season 3 of Sanditon. The last time we finished the second half of Georgiana's trial, and she wins the case against Mr. Lockhart, which is great. And now we pick up where the celebration for her victory, and we will go back to Sanditon in this part review and finish off the episode in the next video. We should continue.
If you should ever have need of me, you need only send word, and I will move heaven and earth to be there.
I will bear that in mind.
Otis stayed until the end of her trial. He showed up to support Georgiana, and I'm sure him showing up, it means the world to her. Having his presence by her side, I think it helped her in some ways. Now he is leaving, and he left her with a note of his address, just in case if she needs to reach out to him or if she needs some help on something. So that door is still unlocked, and Georgiana needs to open it if she wants to go back to Otis and marry him. There's still that possibility, especially with that look on her face when she watched him leave the room, leave the house. She's like, I really don't want you to go, but she let him go. If it's meant to be, right, the opportunity will come back to her.
Thank you for all you have done.
As we've established, it is Xander you should thank.
This is really interesting. I don't know if you thought of this, but you know, with the past, the history of Charlotte and Alexander, Charlotte get to learn more about Alexander's family, but at the same time, it's just like Samuel is like the magnetic force between Alexander and Charlotte, and in a way he's like trying to get them to like talk to each other without like making it noticeable. He is very humble. He's like, don't thank me, thank my brother. He truly didn't plan showing up and help Georgiana on this case. This is because his brother went to London and persuaded him to come on the trial for Georgiana.
You say you've not spoken in 10 years.
When our father died, he left me the estate saddled with debt. But the thought of being trapped in the place that I'd grown up was too much to bear. I wanted a chance to pursue my own path.
Charlotte is investigating even more about the relationship between Alexander and Samuel, and the possibility that Samuel can be her future brother-in-law. You know, like that chance, you know, it can happen. She is curious. She wants to know like how you and Alexander have not spoken to each other for 10 years. Like what happened. And Samuel was being honest to her. He could have, you know, not spilled too many details, especially, you know, this is about his family.
I can understand that.
But alas, my career came at a cost to Xander. He chose to shoulder the familial burden, which should have been mine. And I fear it cost him his marriage.
So it sounds like Samuel is the older brother of Alexander, because the father left the house initially to Samuel, and Alexander took over the debt, the family house. And that house must mean a lot to Alexander, you know, like he could have like just settled the debt and just like sell it and move somewhere else, right? But he stayed there at Heybourne Park. So to me, the house probably holds a sentimental value for Alexander. Samuel, he was ready to go out there in the world and pursue a career in the law and become a lawyer and just have that single free life. And Alexander, he got stuck with the house. He got stuck with a wife that he didn't have a great marriage relationship with. In that situation of Leonora taking her as his own kid, even though she wasn't truly his own daughter by blood. So Alexander seemed to suffered a lot and went through a lot of challenges and trials in his life while maintaining that house while Samuel living his single life in London.
But now you have a chance to make your peace.
Perhaps so. If I may, I sense you and Xander have your own history.
Charlotte was very encouraging on that. It is a good chance for these two brothers to make the peace and catch up on the last 10 years that they did not speak to each other, did not stay in touch. They seem to have like a solid mutual respect and love for one another, but it's just there's so many things that happen in this family past, and unfortunately in some ways it's separated. It made the relationship strange between Alexander and Samuel, and this is a moment for Samuel to make it up to his brother, and in return Alexander should take this opportunity to make peace with his brother as well.
Your tenure as governess was short-lived indeed.
Your brother decided I was unsuitable for the position.
Well, I do hope you will join us at our shooting party.
I must return home. I've tried the patience of my betrothed for long enough.
Samuel is a lawyer, right? So he has those like skills, those investigative skills. Like he can sense like his spider senses like something going on, like, you know, with someone, and he senses something going on between Charlotte and Alexander, and he was very bold, very brave to confront this matter to Charlotte. If I was Charlotte, I'd be like, you know, wow, like you're very bold to step over the line just a little bit. But he is saying this just as a friend, like, you know, hey, if you need some pep talk, like I'm here, like I can be your wingman. But Charlie was like, no, please don't talk about my relationship with Alexander. She really tried to move on from him. She is engaged to Ralph, right? So she doesn't want to like cheat on Ralph in any way, shape, or form with Alexander. Alexander, he did not invite Charlotte for the shooting party, right? So to me, like Samuel was like slipping that invitation to Charlotte, like, hey, you should come to the party. But she is trying to stay true to her words. She said it to herself, like, I'm gonna stay here until Georgiana is okay and I can go home and marry Ralph. And she doesn't want to break that promise.
It's a few more days. Besides, we'll give you an opportunity to thank him in person.
Behind, you know, thanking Alexander in person, Samuel is also trying to tell Charlotte, like, hey, you know, you should take this advantage, you know, take this opportunity to go to the party and see my brother again. And maybe there's still some things you guys want to talk about and sort it out. And maybe, you know, you guys will become a couple. But he is definitely Team Alexander within the love triangle. I can't believe I haven't like said that. I don't know. The word love triangle can be so complicated, right? Like, which person is the best person, right? But technically, we are dealing with a love triangle. Charlotte versus Alexander and Ralph. But Samuel, he is definitely on his brother's side. And that look on Charlotte's face, she got convinced by Samuel to go to the party. Like, she didn't look mad when he encouraged her to go to the party to say thank you to her brother in person. She liked the idea, you know what I mean? Like, she didn't hesitate, so maybe she will go. The return of Georgiana, Mary, and Charlotte back to Sanditon I'm also thinking Charlotte could have like go back to Wellington right away from London, right? Just a random thought. But these three ladies, they return to Sanditon, and the Parker family is so happy. I have one question. I don't know why. I don't know why I'm thinking of this, but I thought the Parker family had 4 kids. I thought it was 2 girls, 2 boys. I thought the youngest was like a baby infant toddler boy in season 1. He probably must have grown by the 3rd season. I thought they had 4 kids, but anyway, random thought once again. But they are very happy that the woman returned home safe and sound, and that Georgiana won the trial. And I'm sure Arthur is like the most happiest member of the family over the fact that his friend Georgiana can just relax and not worry about Lockhart anymore, and he can like take off that guilt on him. I like the transition between the Parker family transit into the Heybourne family, and we get to see Samuel arriving back in Sanditon safe and sound. He could have stayed in London, right? Like his goodbye, like bye family, like I'm staying in London. But he wanted to come back and of course do the shooting party, and I'm sure he wanted to spend more time with his family. And things are looking good for Alexander. Like family wise, like I think in season 3, especially after that trip to Bath, England, Alexander has a better relationship with his daughter, his niece, and now she gets to have a chance to have a better relationship with his brother Samuel.
Welcome back, Uncle.
Thank you, Leah. I'm not used to such a warm welcome.
We have followed your progress from afar.
It was a fine thing you did, sir. That poor girl.
Mrs. Wheatley.
It's a nice, warm welcome. He's a single guy, so he doesn't have anyone that he comes home to. I'm curious though, like, you know, what his relationship status. Like, you know, is he really single? Like, is he looking for love? We'll talk more about that later on. Also, it's nice that Leonora and Augusta get to know Uncle Samuel and who he is, and to know that there is an Uncle Samuel.
Forgive me. I don't think I've ever asked. Your parents?
Were slaves, like her mother. But they were given their freedom when they came to England.
Before you were born.
I didn't work for your father till I was 14.
It's just like that acknowledgement that he has and that respect that he had for Mr. Whitley, what she went through. She is a colored woman. She had that same interest, same experience. Like she had the same understanding of what Georgiana went through and is still going through. Like Georgiana still, you know, have to decide on her future now after she won that case against Lockhart. And we get to know a bit more about Mrs. Whitley and her past and her family history. Both of her parents were slaves and they moved to England and got their freedom. She went through a lot, and she knew that her parents went through a lot. That fight for freedom, that great opportunity, that gratefulness that they must have had when they moved to England, having that chance at freedom. And I'm sure Mr. Whitley is grateful to be where she is right now.
Before that, I had the comfort of knowing my parents loved and respected each other. My heart breaks for Miss Lamb.
It's really nice of her to open up like this. He did say, forgive me, like, if this question is too personal for you, but she opened up. She feels sympathy for Georgiana. She seemed to have like a better family life, and her parents seem to have a better relationship compared to Georgiana's parents. Lockhart mentioned about how Georgiana's father sold her mom to another plantation owner. If that was true, that would definitely break Georgiana's heart, because she thought that her parents always had a mutual love and respect for one another. She thought that they did fall in love and they made love, and Georgiana came out of it. So Mr. Whitley has this heart for Georgiana, and she understands Georgiana in ways that other people wouldn't comprehend. And she knows that Georgiana has a lot to deal with in regard to her future, and that the importance of securing her money from her father. So she does, have some big decision for her future. And Samuel felt really touched in this conversation with Mr. Whitley, and he doesn't mock her or argue with her. He listened to her, and I think we can all learn from that.
Well, it seems you didn't entirely disgrace the family name.
That is a first. I'm glad I didn't let you down, brother.
On the contrary.
Samuel worked really hard in that trial, and he represented Georgiana very well, and he did a great job as a lawyer. He said that he didn't want to let his brother down, didn't want to put a bad reputation on the family name. So to me, it shows that he cares for his family. He loves his brother so much that he's willing to fight for Georgiana life and her money. And in return, Alexander, he appreciates his brother for what he did after 10 years of not speaking to each other. So these two brothers, they are on a better path so far. And it's just nice that they get along, it's just that quick. They pick up where they left off from 10 years ago, but in a way, this time around, it seemed to be heading toward a better relationship between these two men.
I wanted to ask, Miss Hayward.
What about her?
Well, in London, I was struck by her self-possession and her intelligence. I wondered why you hadn't retained her as a governess.
Do you see Augusta look when she was drinking her tea? She's like, this is a good gossip for tea time. Once again, Samuel is very brave, very bold when it comes to Charlotte and Alexander. She's matchmaking for his brother to get back with Charlotte. And he did it in a sneaky way. He wanted to talk about Charlotte, but he first talked about her from a job perspective, not a personal romantic relationship just yet.
Well, she decided that the position was not for her.
Mr. Whitley is listening in. She's like, okay, something has to happen between Charlotte and Alexander. She is team Charlotte too. She sees something special between Charlotte and Alexander. Augusta, she's perk up. She's like, okay, I like where this conversation is going. And Mr. Heybourne, Alexander, his answer is different from what Charlotte said to Samuel back in London. Charlotte said, he fired me, he thought that I wasn't suitable for the governor position, and now he is saying that Charlotte decided to not continue her job as the governor. So which side is right? Samuel is a lawyer. He has those senses, as a detective, and he is trying to match the puzzles of what happened between Charlotte and her brother.
I've invited you to the shooting party. Hope you don't mind.
Why would I mind?
It's funny, Samuel hasn't been living in this house, Heybourne Park, for the longer time, and he thinks that he has the freedom and the power to invite whoever he wants to the shooting party, even though it's not his house. And he's like, oh, I invited Charlotte, whether you like it or not. Alexander trying to stay calm. At the very end, do you see how he was drinking his tea and he looked over to the window? Yeah, he is trying to maintain his composure. Mrs. Whitley, she turned her head when Samuel mentioned about inviting Charlotte, and Augusta and Leonora, they look at each other, they smiled at each other. They know what this means. There's a good chance that Charlotte might tag along with the Parker family to this shooting party.
I'm so relieved the trial is over for Georgiana. Although, I confess, I found a sense of purpose in helping her pursue justice.
There's purpose to be found in marriage and motherhood, my dear.
What if it's not enough?
this scene, it reminds me of her journey in Sanditon since season 1. Season 1, she was very open to marriage. She fell in love with Sydney. She wanted to marry him, have kids. She thought he was the one, like, they're gonna, settle it, for good, like, let's get married. That ended really bad. In season 2, she was like, I had enough of heartbreak. I had enough of men. I'm gonna be single and earn money for myself. I don't have to worry about a man. I can just take care of myself. She became a governess. Women back in those days, they didn't have many job opportunities where they earn money for themselves. But she did it. She found a job and she earned money for herself. And she got into that triangle situation again between the Colonel and Mr. Heybourne, and both relationships ended badly by the end of season 2. In season 3, she wants to stay single and she wants to do her own thing. She doesn't want to rush into marriage, but her parents are forcing her to marry well. She is settling for less. She deserves better. Who is Alexander? Alexander is the better prize for her, but she doesn't want it. And now she thinks that she has a purpose more than just be a wife and a mom. And that comes from her personality. She has the determination and personality where, if she wants to do something, she's gonna chase after it.
It's perfectly normal to have doubts. I was nearly 30 before I married Tom. I almost ended the engagement 3 times.
Why?
Mary is trying to share from her heart. She is trying to tell Charlotte, like, it's okay to have these second thoughts and these, doubts and feeling nervous about your pending marriage to Ralph. And Mary's like, it turned out great. Like, I almost didn't marry Tom, but I did, and we created this beautiful family. And she is trying to have Charlotte, like, it's a beautiful thing to become a wife and a mom. Those roles are very important, and it's like the best roles that women can accomplish for their inner self. But Charlotte, she is looking for more. She's like, I can be more than just a mom and a wife.
I suppose I was afraid that in becoming Mrs. Tom Parker, I'd forget who Mary Harrison was. That I might lose sight of myself.
Mary has a lot of experiences, and she is trying to share her perspective and her experience of, that moment of becoming a man-wife. And this is, like, good for Charlotte, to give Charlotte a better understanding and a better perspective of what to expect when she does get married to Ralph. But that's the thing, that identity, the word Mary was talking about, like, she was afraid that she would lose herself, that she would not remember, who she was before marriage. And that could be something that Charlotte is thinking about, She's like, if I marry Ralph, like, I'm gonna lose my life, basically. Like, I have to go back to Wellington. I cannot live in Sanditon, go back to that farm life and be committed to Ralph. She cannot be free anymore, like she is right now in Sanditon. So Charlotte is navigating through her questions and her doubts. But at the same time, though, she is still in Sanditon, and I'm just like, okay, is she, like, staying longer just for the shooting party? She should have been back in Wellington by now.
And you haven't?
Marriage is about compromise, Charlotte. As I'm sure you'll learn.
My next question, does Charlotte want to compromise her life when she married to Ralph? I guess what I'm trying to say that if she picks Alexander, she gets to stay in Sanditon. Sanditon is, it's a town that she fell in love with, and she loved the people that she know in this town, and she doesn't see anywhere else, to be her future home other than Sanditon. So, is she willing to give up everything to marry Ralph? She had to give up Sanditon if she does marry Ralph. Or she end her relationship with Ralph and then stay in Sanditon as a single woman. I don't know how that's gonna work out because her governor position with the Heybourne family didn't end well, or she had to end up with Alexander if she still had feeling for him and if that door is still open for them to become a married couple. They are in the old town, and I was going to say Mary did find a sense of purpose. Other than being a wife and a mom, she found another purpose in her life, and that is giving back to the community, helping her community, and that's what she is doing right now in this scene. Charlotte, she's very good with kids. She brought the books, I promise, and she would love to teach them. And this is like a little foreshadow of the end of this season. She would love to teach her how to read, and she did held a governor position in season 2. So to me, I'm like matching the puzzle here. I'm like, she could be a great teacher if she wants to go down that path, especially teaching women how to read and write. Because back in those days, women didn't have the initial freedom and opportunity to learn like the men did. So I can see that possibility for Charlotte to become a teacher if she does stay in Sanditon, but she is not at the moment. And then Mr. Wilkins mentioned about the hotel. And Mary has no idea. It showed to me that Tom hasn't been keeping her in the loop. And she is all for the old town. She is like the mayor wife, and she here for the people of the old town. That's like the heart of Sanditon. So Mary's like, no, this cannot be happening. And it's a good wake-up call from Mr. Wilkins. If she didn't tell Mary about this hotel gossip, Mary wouldn't have known. And I'm sure Tom would have proceeded in the plan of that hotel in that location because of the, many profits that he had gained from having that hotel in that location. But other than that, I truly respect Mary and the storyline about her in season 3. It's not always about being a mom and a wife. I'm not a mom yet. Like, I don't understand everything just yet, but from, people's stories and what I, seen and heard, becoming a wife and mom, like, you compromise. Like, marriage is a compromise, and it's so hard for a woman to find their own passion and do things on the side where, they can just have fun and enjoy the passion and find, a purpose that they are meant to do besides being a wife and a mom. Your life shouldn't be consumed by, his and your husband, you know what I mean? Like, you want to have that balance of, having a good balance between your family life and your personal life. And I respect Mary for that in season 3, and it's really nice of her for doing these things for the family. This scene between Edward and Miss Higgins, once again, Edward here role playing really well. Like, you cannot trust any words that come out from his mouth. But I do see the comparison between him and Miss Higgins. Miss Higgins is liking the doctor, Dr. Fuchs. She is starting this really nice friendship with him, and she realized earlier this season that she might have feelings for him, the butterflies feelings, and she wants to commit to a relationship, a romantic relationship with the doctor, but she is struggling with the disapproval from her brother, that religion versus science drama. So she is struggling in her love life, but Edward is struggling in his love life too, even though it's all pretend. But within his fake love life, he is struggling to get Augusta, to be with him like freely with no secret hangout, like be open about their relationship to the family and the friends. He is struggling that, the only way that he can be with Augusta in the open is if he gets the approval from her uncle. And Mr. Heybourne like he knows about Edward and his bad reputation. Everyone does in Sanditon. So Edward, he not get away from that. So he needs to prove himself to Alexander that he is worthy to be a future partner of Augusta, and that would be a huge challenge. And Miss Hankins, like she can relate to what Edward going through as he talked to her in this scene, and she gave him a Bible verse, and she encouraged him like, there's still some good in him. And I'm like, no, don't fall for his crap, like he is pretending about this. But that Bible verse though, I'm a Christian, so I know what that verse means, and I'm like, Miss Hankins, you have no idea the fruits that Edward is producing. They are bad fruits, like there are bad personality traits of Edward. He is doing this with an evil plan, and she doesn't know it. And I'm like, she's so gullible at times. Anyway, but what an interesting conversation. Like these two people like are very opposite, but they somehow like have some interest, common ground on what's going on in their separate love life.
Remind me why I agreed to this?
You will enjoy every moment of it, apart from when I bag twice as many birds as you.
I'm really excited to talk about the shooting party. I think this is a great storyline. Alexander's like, why am I even doing this? But this was because of a really great encouragement from his brother Samuel. And it's a great way for Alexander to possibly see Charlotte again before she heads back to London.
A London fop like you haven't a chance. I will admit, though, it gladdens me to see the house brought back to life.
We talk about the Heybourne Park that housed so many times in season 2 and 3 of the Sandy Trail reviews. It was dark and quiet before Charlotte came over as the governess in season 2. She brought life back into that house with the piano playing and Leonora running around and the girls hanging out in the yard. And then it got quiet again at the end of season 2, quiet and dark. And then season 3, the family came back to the house, and it started to become alive again, the house. But now the house is completely back to life with this shooting party, and it's nice to see that. Like Alexander said, it's a good feeling, to see the house be louder and be more full of people in doing this fun event, this shooting party.
Gentlemen, I understand that we owe you both our everlasting gratitude for saving Miss Lamb's fortune.
I assure you, my involvement was negligible at best.
Miss Haywood, you are here. Will you tell me everything about the trial?
One little note though, Alexander looked over to Charlotte, and to me that look means that he was happy to see her at the shooting party. Samuel invited her, she could have said yes or no, but she did show up, so it's a good sign.
Mr. Coburn, this is unexpected. I thought you had an aversion to entertaining. May I introduce Mr. Price?
How do you do?
Alexander, that look, like seriously, like the intensity, like getting high again between him and Charlotte. That look though, when he watched Charlotte leave with Leonora, it was just that admiration look. He is still in love with her. Like I think like that moment in the scene, it confirms like solid, like he's still in love with her. And Samuel like caught him looking to Charlotte, and Samuel like, yeah, my brother still in love with Charlotte. I think that admiration look was also like that thought of like, she has a great relationship with my daughter Leonora. And I think it's very comforting and very enjoyable for him to see that good relationship between Charlotte and Leonora. Because if Charlotte does become the new Mrs. Heybourne, she will become the new mom of Leonora, and it's important that Leonora will like her new mom, but she would definitely love Charlotte as her new mom.
My brother, Mr. Samuel Colburn, my niece, Miss Markham.
How do you do, sir?
Oh, and you know my nephew, Sir Edward Denham.
By reputation, certainly.
By reputation. Is that a good reputation or a bad reputation? I would take the bad reputation. Mr. Heybourne, he's like on guard with Edward. He knows Edward is not a good man. But Edward gave a smile to Augusta and she returned the same smile back to him. So she is happy to see Edward at the party, and I'm sure they will find a moment to be alone for a quick minute or two.
You are the woman of the hour, Miss Lamb. I hope you do not find the attention too overwhelming.
You are hardly a stranger to gossip yourself, my lady.
Which is why I speak from experience to warn you that society can be merciless. You must do what you can to protect yourself.
Lady Susan, she wants you a lot, and she is saying these things to Georgiana out of the kindness of her heart. She meant well, you know, and Georgiana like, what? Like, the trial is over? Like, I won? Like, I have nothing to worry about. But there's always gossip and talks around town about, you know, many people and the secrets and whatnot, like what's going on in each other's lives. Lady Susan giving her a warning, like just to protect herself, to protect her heart. Hopefully Georgiana takes her advice.
Ah, Lady Montrose. Lady Lydia, Your Grace, I was so hoping you would be here.
Pleasure as always, Lady de Clermont.
It's good that Lady Susan had the conversation, but she saw the Montrose family coming over. They don't need to hear the private conversation. But poor the Montrose family is at the shooting party, and they were thinking like, okay, this is another opportunity for Lady Lydia to get the attention from Alexander.
Oh, Miss Lamb, I thank God that justice has prevailed. I've been on my knees praying for you night after day.
Oh, I'm sure that made the world of difference.
Lady Susan remarked about, you know, the power of prayer. I don't know if she meant it like in a sarcastic way or she meant it like, you know, to mock Lady Montrose. But to me, I always believe in the power of prayer, and I do believe that it changes things, the things that we go through in life. So to me, I'm like, okay, does she not believe in the power of prayer, or she just trying to say that Lady Montrose is lying about praying for Georgiana, that she is like exaggerating when she told Georgiana that she prayed for her like every day, every night, and Lady Susan like, yeah, right, you know, that cannot be true, the woman that you are. And Georgiana like look over to Lady Susan like, okay, this is awkward. But anyway, just a random thought. I'm just, you know, releasing my honest opinion about that statement from Lady Susan, because in the show there's a priest and, you know, Bible verses mentioned here and there. Anyway, so there's that.
Doubtless you and your enamorata have much to discuss.
Miss Lamb, I've missed you.
As have I missed you, dear heart.
Harry and Georgiana continue their fake relationship. Harry is a good friend. He is becoming a good friend to Georgiana and Arthur.
Come, Lydia. Mr. Colborne is unattended. We shall seize the moment.
I love that line, seize the moment. Lydia, she did not look too excited to go up to Alexander to talk to him, to get attention from him. So what's that all about? But other than that, she is still being forced by her mom to make a relationship with Alexander.
Was it not Byron who went to bed one night and woke up famous? I believe the same could be said of you, Georgiana.
First thing first, Edward and Augusta like technically walking together, but with a good amount of distance between them, so it's not too obvious. Harry, Arthur, and Georgiana are hanging out. in a way, Harry replaced Lockhart. You know, we had that trio in season 2 of Georgiana, Arthur, and Lockhart, but now Harry stepped in Lockhart's shoes, and he is a better friend than Lockhart was.
How true, Arthur.
Do I sense a rapprochement?
Oh. We are become bosom companions, especially now I understand the true nature of your arrangement.
Lydia is chill, you know? She's not, like, entirely a bad woman. She's just being forced by her mom to, have a romantic relationship with Alexander. She is enjoying seeing this lovely friendship between her brother Arthur and Georgiana, the famous trio. Georgiana realized that the relationship between Arthur and Harry had become very friendly, very nice, and she was like, wow, I missed a lot while I was in London for the trial. And Arthur mentioned to her, like, now I understand what's going on because you and Harry are, you know, doing this because of that reason, just to make it look like they are in a relationship, but they're not. And Georgiana, like, yep. So Harry did tell Arthur what's going on between Harry and Georgiana.
Although, now you are so well known, perhaps you would rather call off our courtship.
Why? Are you afraid you'll be tarnished by association with me?
Not at all.
There's another reason to why Harry wanted to hold off the courtship, and we will get to that. I don't know if it's in this video or the next one, but there is a reason. And if you really pay attention to his cues, like the direction of what he is looking at and what he's doing with his eyes, his hand, like he was looking at Arthur when he mentioned to Georgiana about holding off this courtship. And, you know, it's like one of those early signs of something else that's going on between Harry and Arthur. And if you already know, like, you know, but we'll get to that later on. But for now, you know, Harry is willing to do this for Georgiana's sake. Georgiana doesn't know the whole story of what Harry is up to. And that will bring some drama in the second half of the season. But for now, it's a nice trio, a nice friendship between these 3 people.
Ah, it isn't the conquering hero.
My lady.
You feeling suitably triumphant?
The victory is not mine to claim.
Oh, rarely observed humility in a man, let alone a lawyer.
Lady Susan Samuel, once again, it's nice that she came up to him. She felt safe and easygoing when she talked with him, so that's a good sign because she is, you know, processing that heartbreak from her relationship with the king.
In truth, it is a recent acquisition.
You wear it well. I believe Miss Hayward was in London for the trial.
Yes.
I understand her tenure as a governess here was rather short-lived.
Lady Susan, straight to the point, she changed the topic. She talked about Charlotte, and you can see it took up the interest in Samuel. He's like, ooh, okay, you're talking about Charlotte. I know my brother, but you know Charlotte very well. And if these two work together in matchmaking, Charlotte and Alexander, something magical can happen between Alexander and Charlotte.
I can't quite ascertain why.
My brother will not be drawn on the subject, although I have my own theory.
As have I. I wonder if they might be one and the same.
Lady Susan and Samuel are very wise people when it comes to relationships, so they're gonna solve this like in a hot minute. But why a duo? Lady Susan and Samuel, I love it. I love them for this reason, and also I love them together as a possible couple. I sensed some sparks between them. From the first moment they met each other, they introduced themselves to each other. And I think he was the first one that took an interest in her before she did in him. But anyway, I love the duo. It's like one of the best things in season 3.
Excuse me one moment.
Mr. Coleman.
Miss Hayward. Thought you would have returned to Willingdon by now.
Charlotte did that on purpose. She walking close to Alexander so they can have a moment to talk. She agreed with Samuel. She wanted to thank him in person, and here is her opportunity. Alexander seemed very happy to see her at the shooting party, even though she is still engaged to Ralph.
I wanted a chance to thank you.
Oh, you have nothing to thank me for.
You rode to London and sought out a brother you hadn't seen in 10 years.
Even though she is still engaged to Ralph, I think having her at the shooting party makes him happy to the point that he is enjoying every last moment that he could have with her in Sanditon before she go back to Willingdon, because once she's back in Willingdon and marry Ralph, she's not gonna come back to Sanditon, or maybe visit once in a blue moon. It's interesting, in the first half of this conversation, he kept looking away from her, maintaining that distance between them while they talk to each other. But what a look, though, when she looked up to him and told him about how he chased after his brother and convinced him to come and help Georgiana. It was that look of admiration. She respected him for what he did, and she's very grateful with all the things that him and his family did for Georgiana to help her save her fortune.
I couldn't have stood by and done nothing. What kind of man would I be?
You did my friend a great kindness. I'll forever be grateful.
Once they stop walking and face each other, the sparks between them come alive again, and they could feel it with each other together in this scene.
Xander, come! The beaters stand ready!
Excuse me.
In that look that he gave to her, it was that look of indirectly telling her, I still have feeling for you, but I can't be with you, but you with Ralph. He's reminding her of what they had and the possibility of the future that they can have together if Charlotte does decide to be with Alexander instead. Charlotte, she felt it, she knew it, and I'm hoping in this moment she realized that she's making a huge mistake with Ralph. The sparks are still there.
Miss Heywood and Mr. Colburn seem on rather close terms.
Oh, she is no threat. She was this governess. She's about to marry a farmer.
Mama Bear, Lady Monroe, she sensed something going on between Charlotte and Alexander. Lady Denham, she had no idea what happened in season 2, and she had no idea what's really happening in season 3 between Alexander and Charlotte. Remember that scene at the end of season 1 at the wedding of Esther, and Lord Babington and Lady Denham came over to Charlotte oh, I thought you would be married by now, but you're not. And now here we are in season 3. She had no clue about Charlotte's relationship with Alexander. She just thinks, it's just professional, the governess position. But Lydia, though, she start to calculate, okay, if my mom can pick up on that, maybe I should, find out what really happened between Charlotte and Alexander, because Lydia is the front runner up, if Charlotte say no to Alexander, she is the second place winner, if that makes sense.
Miss Heywood, might I ask your opinion?
Yes.
I understand you were governess here.
Yes. Briefly.
My mother is determined that Mr. Colburn and I would be well matched.
Charlotte doesn't want to talk about what happened in her job as the governess, but here we are, Lydia, trying to find more information about Alexander.
And yet, if I'm honest, he seems to me rather humorless and stern.
Mr. Colburn is by nature reserved.
Charlotte, having this conversation with Lydia, it's one of those real-life moments when you like a guy but you can't have him, but another lady is like getting his attention at the moment and you start to feel jealous. I sensed that from Charlotte.
Yet there is a good deal more to him than first appears. If you can engage him on the subject of dogs or horses, you might see him come to life.
Thank you, Miss Hayward.
Charlotte is very nice in telling her, what Alexander likes and, what is his personality. He is reserved, like he is a quiet man. But in season 2, Charlotte, opened his door and she made him comfortable to open up more and to be his happy self, and she saw the good side of him, and that was she telling Lydia right now, like, to give him a chance, maybe try to talk to him about horses and dogs, and that would be a good icebreaker and, get things moving between Lydia and Alexander.
Perhaps I have more in common with our host than I thought.
If I was Charlotte, I wouldn't even be helping, because if I was Charlotte, I know I still have feeling for Alexander. So why are you, why is she pushing Alexander away by telling Lydia the secrets and technique to get his attention?
You're a good shot, Sir Edward.
Thank you, sir. My father taught me at a young age, and my aim was much improved by my time in the army.
My brother, as you can tell from his shooting prowess, has been too long in the city.
Okay, that's a good sign for Edward. Things seem to be going well so far between Alexander and Edward, but he shouldn't jump too fast, take it easy. If he gets the approval from Mr. Heybourne, to be with Augusta, he wins it all. But we know that Mr. Heybourne would never let that happen.
Thank you. Now, Mr. Corbin, it's a splendid afternoon.
Miss Price has just told me of your scheme for the Old Town.
Oh, yes?
Ooh, Alexander humming and hot about the hotel location. So Mr. Price introduced himself to Alexander, and apparently they had a conversation about the hotel.
You realise if you raise the Old Town, you'll destroy the last vestiges of the community that has always been the heart of Sanditon.
Well,
I have to say I agree with you, Mr. Colburn. I believe we should be seeking to improve the lives of the people that live there, not ruin them.
Mary, that was like the best moment. Mary was very bold and brave to say that in public, not only to her husband, but to Mr. Price too. And Mr. Price was not like that. Everyone will be in agreement about this hotel as long, it doesn't affect, a group of people's lives, and this is affecting the Old Town. So Alexander, no, you can't do this. To me, he loves Sanditon, and he respects the people that are the heart of the town, and he's like, you can't do that to those people. So he is on the same side as Mary.
Your wife is very free with her opinions, Parker.
Alexander, he shook his head yes in agreement with her, and she just abruptly left the other two men, but she knows that what she just said just put the fire out about this hotel location. But good for her. She does have the right to have an opinion, even though she's not in this business partnership. But I think it's important for Tom to hear it from his own wife.